This is it. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Tell me why you have yet freed your mind. Be what you are and do not waste more time. Grab a drink and let your soul soar high. Start standing out to be a greater time. Follow my lead and start your soul grind. If it ain't clear, my life is finally here. I'm just trying to find my soul, but it never disappeared. I'm just trying to find my life. I should just look in a mirror, because what I thought was
What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another 6.0 Powerstroke video, and welcome back to beautiful rainy Boise, Idaho. As you saw from some of the pre-shots, I originally was going to do this in a parking garage, but it was really echoey and a lot of cars, and it just wasn't working out. So here we are in a big empty parking lot, standing under covering, because it's, well, I don't feel like standing in the rain, I'm gonna be honest. But today we're going to be going over the question, are stock 6.0 Powerstrokes junk? Now, there's another video on my channel, should you buy a 6.0 Powerstroke? That goes into a little more detail, different stock, studded, EGR deleted, all that. But today we're going to be focusing on a stock 6.0 Powerstroke. So let's get into it. So if you've seen my other videos, I used to have an 05 maroon F250 that you would recognize. And obviously, that's not what's behind me. This here is my new truck as of a few months ago. It's a 2006 F350 King Ranch. The maroon one I sold earlier this year. I've been through a couple different trucks, not Fords, but I'm back into a 6.0. And the reason we're making this video today is this one here is completely stock, other than a leveling kit, brush guard, grill guard, and wheels and tires, and the mirrors. I changed out the mirrors. But mechanically, stock head bolts, stock EGR, stock oil cooler, stock exhaust, stock everything mechanically. No tunes, it's never been tuned. It's mechanically stock truck. So let's get into that first. So with the truck mechanically stock, there had to be some sort of issue, right? Well, I do have one issue with this truck. It leaks oil. That's it. From the oil cooler and from somewhere else. I don't remember what. But other than that, it's a great truck. It was owned by an older gentleman who worked around the ranch. I found hay, straw, a bunch of dirt inside the truck. Towed a horse trailer. So this truck's had a pretty easy life before me, and it's gonna have an easy life for a while. I do plan on having all the works, fully bulletproof, full exhaust, which keep open for that one. I am gonna be posting up an exhaust video here, hopefully in a few weeks after this, for what I plan on doing this, and the whole installation process of that. So keep an eye out for that. And I will be updating down the road as I own it, any problems that come up, solutions, work I do to it. So I'm gonna plan on hopefully making a lot of videos. A lot of comments on my last video, the should you buy a 6.0 Powerstroke video. A lot of the guys were saying you haven't had it that long, you don't know if there's problems, there could be more down the road. And I get that. I mean, things develop over time. So like I said, if I do have any problems, I plan on keeping this one for a lot of miles and a lot of time. And just updating you guys as we go, what problems I encounter, and also just what I do to the truck. So that's this truck. Now let's get into our stock 6.0 Powerstroke junk. Now, I don't have to point out the obvious. The number one problem that these trucks have, that everybody knows about, is the heads, the head gaskets. Ford skimped out on how many head bolts they put in. It's less than it should, less than they had in the 7.3, and less than all the competitors' diesels. So over time, if you get the engine real warm, put a lot of pressure under it, you'll actually warp them and blow your head gaskets, and then you'll have a nice milkshake of coolant oil all over, and it's just great. That's the number one problem. Now we'll start with that. So ultimately, you can prevent that problem from ever happening. A few ways, which I speak about in my other videos as well. Maintenance, and maintenance. So just staying on top of your maintenance, oil changes, fuel filter changes, coolant flushes every once in a while, which should be done in every vehicle, not just these. Coolant flushes to get all the crap that builds up over time. Watching your temperatures if you can, if you don't have a monitor. I don't have a monitor, but I plan on getting one. Watching your temperatures and making sure everything itself with the motor is good to go. Ultimately, if you're watching that stuff and you're not throwing some hot tune from, 250 horsepower tune, your stock truck can handle it. No, it can't. Some hot tunes, pulling really big trailers, which that one's kind of preventable. If you have to pull a big trailer, big fifth wheel, whatever. That one, over time, if you're pulling a lot of weight, it can stretch out your head, like I was talking about. So stuff like that. If you just keep on top of it and you don't beat the living piss out of your truck, you can most likely prevent your head gaskets from kicking the butt. Most likely. It still happens. There's still cases out there where you can drive that truck around like a grandpa all day and your truck decides it doesn't like the head gaskets anymore. It happens. So that's the biggest issue that people will always talk about their stock truck. Now let's get into some more. Now I would like to say that the head gaskets is the only issue these trucks have. They're not. They're just not. There's a few more over time. This truck has 132,000 miles, 134, somewhere in there. Over time, just normal wear and tear, stuff's gonna give. Like I said, this thing leaks oil, gaskets, just over time, the truck's 15 years old. 15, 16, depending on what year, 17, 18, 17, I don't know the oldest. But they're old. Over time, gaskets give up, parts give up, regardless of the vehicle. So with that, start with your high pressure oil pump. Those have the tendency to go. Your oil cooler will start to stick with the oil system. Your oil cooler, what happens with those is you get a lot of crap ran through it. It gets gunked up just over time. You go a few extra 1,000 miles on an oil change, you get a little more gunk in there. It doesn't flow like it should anymore. And then you're gonna start seeing increased temperatures. And then that can actually ultimately bring you to the head gasket problem that these trucks have. So that's one problem you have to look out for the oil coolers. There are solutions, bulletproof diesel, a couple other. There are solutions for its bigger openings, allow more flow through there, less chance of it getting gunked up. And on the terms of getting gunked up, another thing that'll get gunked up is the EGR, or exhaust gas recirculation system in these trucks. Those also have a pretty big tendency to get a lot of gunk built up. I mean, you're pumping exhaust gas back into the motor, which is ridiculous. If you can delete it, if you don't have emissions, just delete it. If not, there are solutions for same thing with oil coolers, the more open, the less chance of it getting gunked up. Better flow, bulletproof diesel, one of the big ones. So that's preventable, but over time, just normal driving, you can run into that problem. So that's those two things. There's a couple other small things. IPR valve, the screen tends to get gunked up. I had that happen on one of my trucks. The turbos, they're good. They're great turbos. I did have a gasket blowout in my maroon truck that you saw in the last video. So I had to replace the turbo. There's a couple other small things over time, but I'd like to say most of it's preventable with good maintenance. Just stay on top of oil changes. Stay on top of your fuel filter changes. Every other oil change is how often I've been told by a couple of diesel mechanics that I know. That's important because that actually cost me a couple injectors on my first 6.0, because the previous owner didn't change them out after like 50,000 miles. Don't even know how it made it that long, but they didn't change it out, and that cost me a few injectors because literally like a few weeks, month after I bought it, those gave up the ghost. So maintenance stuff like that, ultimately poor maintenance, just not sticking with it, that will be your ultimate demise of a stock motor. I mean, regardless, after you modify the motor, if you're not maintaining or staying up to par on your oil changes, fuel filter changes, make sure your temperatures are where they should be, you'll have problems then too. And that's kind of with any vehicle. That's what I don't get. A lot of people hate on these trucks, and with reason. There are some problems that should never be in there in the first place, like why they took out head studs or the head bolts. Well, I don't know why they thought it was a good idea to put less, but regardless, they did. So I can't say like there isn't a problem there, but with every other vehicle, if you don't maintain it, which a lot of younger people and older people just tend to like, oh, it's fine. Oh man, a big problem. These things are horrible trucks. Never want one again. I'm buying a Chevy or a Dodge or whatever. You stick up the maintenance. If you don't stick up the maintenance on those trucks, you're gonna have similar problems, just whatever is equivalent to those trucks. It's gonna happen. You gotta stay up to par with your maintenance and just watching everything, make sure everything's good to go. And you should ultimately be perfectly fine with a stock truck. Unless if you're trying to take it downtown and race all your buddies and see who's the fastest truck all the time, or this is, like I said, this is avoidable. You're pulling a big fifth wheel all over the United States, thousands of miles with a 20,000 pound trailer, a lot of hills, that can get the truck heated up and with some problems. Stuff like that, that'll bring into problems. But I'd like to say ultimately, 80-90% of the trucks out there, they are preventable as long as they haven't been beat up by the first owners, and as long as you don't beat them up yourself. Now with all this and all the stock trucks, like I said, this is my third one. I do plan on having all the work done to this truck, all the bulletproof and what encompasses into the bulletproof. It's not just head studs, there's a bunch of stuff that encompasses into the bulletproof idea. When I do have that done, I am going to make a video on it, a cost breakdown, so keep an eye out for that someday. It may be sooner rather than later, sooner than I want. We'll find out. But I also, like I said, I'm going to be making an exhaust video here soon for the truck, so keep an eye out for that. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button, keep an eye out for that. And that's going to be it for today's video. So ultimately, my answer is, are they junk? No. Can they be junk? Yes. It all depends on the history of the truck. I got lucky. A lot of people get lucky. Some people get not so lucky, and some people just have like the worst luck possible. They buy it and it costs them $10,000 down the road to fix it like a month later. And I'm going to say a lot of people in the comments hating on these trucks, well, that's kind of going to be where their history is, which I understand. You buy a truck, you put a lot of money into it, like right after you buy it, and it's just kind of like, well, that sucks. It does. But I mean, after you get the bulletproof done, they're amazing trucks. So, yeah. So stock 6.0 Powerstrokes, no, they're not junk. They can be, but no, they're not. Treat them nice. If you treat them well, they'll treat you well. That's how I see it, and that's how I've always had the history. And a couple buddies that have had their trucks for a long time. I sell one, buy one, I go through trucks like crazy, but a lot of my other 6.0 friends have had them for a long time. They've had great results and they take care of them. So, but that's going to be it for today's video, guys. A little shorter, a little crappy weather. Here soon I am going to do that exhaust video. If you want, I can do a walk around video. Also, how to restore the King Ranch seats, I can make a video on that because that's just fun. Love the interiors, but they're like a big pain in the butt. So, but that's gonna be it. I appreciate you guys tuning in, and like I said, I have some more 6.0 Powerstrokes videos on my page. Give those a watch, and I appreciate it. See you later.
That's